Hey guys, what's up? This is Stock Retail coming back to you. Sure feels like we've got a lot going on. We've got amazing movie news lately. Want to talk about that and celebrate that. Just a little tongue in cheek on the video title today, Bowser v Kong. If you haven't caught yet, I would just say, the latest round of attempting to cast doubt in your minds, the latest round of distraction. No surprise that here, a lot of us have forecast this for a long time and have pointed to this moment in Q2 that we were going to be to the fun part. If you've been around my channel here or if you've been around me on Twitter, you've seen me kind of use that language quite a bit, saying, hey, in fact, I was kind of pointing really to March even, but from March forward through quite a bit of the rest of the year, we're really to the fun part where we get to start watching the revenues be at what I think are even profitable levels. So we're going to talk about that today. Kind of joking here a little bit about what about the courts and China. I'm going to explain that. So let's just cover what we're going to cover. So today we will talk a little bit about, why am I bringing up China? What does that have to do with the courts? What does that have to do with FUD? And I'm going to tell you a little story to give you a history lesson on AMC. If you've been around long enough, what happens is you've done DD, and then when FUD comes up, you're like, hey, wait a sec. We already know that story, and we know a lot more context than people are giving us credit for. So I'm going to hand you some past DD and help you understand a little bit of the current FUD that's out there, and hopefully kind of give you a bit of an antidote to that. As always, I say don't trust me, bro. So I'm going to tell you sort of the, pushback on my point of view and let you decide for yourself whether you agree with me or disagree with me, and that's fine. But I also think we ought to spend some time focusing on the movies that are actually happening. Just kind of joking here, saying Q2 ate the bigness mushroom. I'm sure if you've played Mario, you understand what I'm saying. Things have gotten supersized lately, and we've got some really great results happening now, and really even, well, I don't want to say even better results coming because Mario is just crushing it, but we've got more results coming. So some really good things coming, and thus no surprise to me at all. We're getting this heightened level of FUD distraction, people trying to create doubt in your mind about Adam and the board and that kind of stuff. So let's just go through this. We'll check in on kind of the court process for the reverse split and the conversion and all that too. Talk a little bit about that, and then we'll just finish with what I personally think we ought to focus on. So first, you need to know about something called Wanda. A lot of you listening probably already know about that. Maybe you've been around a while. So there was a group that, it was a Chinese company that had bought controlling interest in AMC. Now this is way before any of the squeeze, before COVID. We're going back quite a ways here. I had a whole Reddit where I'd posted actually the entire kind of history, the timeline of all this. I just went because I was going to link that for you in the video, and I noticed actually that Reddit post has long since been taken down apparently. So I may just, I'll do some kind of file share and put the link out there. I've done that once or twice on some other documents. On my side, it's just a Word document. So if I put it in Google Drive or something, I know some of you don't like clicking links, I get that. But for those who would like to see a bigger document about this, I had done clear back in early 2021. So this is really old DD. Just a whole timeline of Wanda's relationship with AMC, Wanda's ownership of AMC, and Wanda selling AMC, because that was the big deal in the spring of 2021. We were all watching Wanda sell into some runs and wishing that they were done. And so that's why I had done the DD back then. But it gets pretty big, and it involves the entire government of China. And that's why you need to understand that, because some things are being brought back up now that I think if you have the context on them, they help you understand Adam's leadership a little more too. So first, actually, before we go there, so again, you got to just ground yourself in the fact that I want to even say maybe as far back as 2012, I'll have to pull up my document on that, that Wanda steps in and starts buying AMC. And from Adam's side, from AMC's side, what a strategic partnership that was. Wanda, if you don't know, was a very big movie operator all throughout Asia. I think they were like in Australia, certainly in China, and some other parts of sort of Asia Pacific. And a very big company. And what's more, they had bought a filmmaker, so Legendary Films. So go look up their library. I'm just laughing a little bit because you'll run into some Kong movies. So that's kind of interesting for apes. So you've got this big movie distributor who also owns some IP, who comes along and is, at that time, that looks like a really strategic partner for AMC. So they come in, Adam and the board allow them in to buy a bunch of the company. Well, now fast forward, things have shifted. Now look at what I'm going to show you through the lens of history too, because now you have hindsight. You've heard the saying, hindsight is 2020. Think about, you've heard of Evergrande or Evergrande. I just like to play around with that pronunciation, I guess. But so have you heard of the real estate developer in China that kind of went under? All the liquidity issues that have been going on in China for a couple of years now, probably familiar to you if you've been kind of in this ape journey with us. Well, think through just a couple of years before that. There's the saying, somebody always knows, or another saying, there's no coincidences. So here in 2017, just a couple of years before we start hearing about Evergrande going bankrupt and all kinds of liquidity issues in China, and now banks melting down around the world, you don't have to be a mega conspiracy theory to see a lot of dots that connect. Because you look just a couple of years before that, and here's what I'm showing you. And this is from my document. This is actually my words here. But I have a bunch of links, as always, in that document, so you can go kind of see some of this information. In 2017, China regulators tell their banks to stop funding companies such as Wanda for overseas acquisitions amid concerns of overstretching or being overleveraged. Well, if you've seen any of my other videos or kind of followed me on Twitter, then you understand this concept of leverage and that relates to liquidity. That's basically people not having enough cash to cover their investments, which is what's going on with the banks right now. So fast forward a little bit from there, you can find publicly Wanda announces it will refocus its investments in China to, here's in quotes, actively respond to the call of the country. Now, think about everything you know about China politically. Not a democracy, right? Their government says, hey, there's a word called repatriation. Start bringing money back, start repatriating cash into the country. So that tells me, and I wrote this in 2021. Here we are in 2023 with a global economic meltdown. I said in 2021, China knew it was coming. You can go find that, or like I said, I'll try to link the doc. China said, we got to start bringing cash back to, let's call that for them, our homeland. Because something big is coming through the global economy. Well, Wanda had no choice. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to know. So 2012, well before all of this, Wanda comes in, invests in AMC, has a controlling interest, and controls the board. I'm bringing this all up, and I don't even honestly want to give it much credence to kind of cover much details. Sorry, I'm a little distracted for a second. There's like a storm rolling over my house right now. So if you hear some noise, that's all that is. I'll try to stick here focused with you guys, but it's really raining on my windows. Normal here in Oregon, we get that. Okay, so Wanda comes in and invests. Oh, why did I bring this up? So I don't want to give it too much credence to go into too much detail on what I'm seeing, but basically it connects to, we've got the court case right now around the vote and the conversion and the split and all of that. And so folks went up and dug years old cases where there are some things that in their spin, I'll call it, they're trying to say, hey, this puts Adam in a pretty negative light. And what I'm trying to do, and what I did on Twitter, and I'll even show you a tweet in a minute, so if you want to see a little more detail, you can, is to say, listen, you cannot judge a leader without context. So you need to understand, because what people are basically trying to say, and it's very clever, they'll say it without fully making an allegation. They'll say, oh, some things look kind of bad, and maybe Adam could have done too many favors for Wanda. Well, think about a scenario here I'm going to paint for you. You're a CEO. Your largest shareholder is a Chinese company. Their government has just told them to bring their cash home. Okay, you don't want them just dumping their shares on the market all at once. That's going to completely tank your stock. It's going to basically make you have less access to capital. You guys have heard me talk in a lot of videos about access to capital and how that makes a company strong. Well, when your stock isn't worth very much, it's harder to get capital. You'll get less of it. I'm talking financing and debt. You'll be able to get less of it. Banks will be less friendly with you, and you may have more expensive capital, or in this case, what that means is a higher interest rate. Now, think about COVID hits, and Wanda's got to finish selling off the rest. Now you really don't want them just dumping their shares. Imagine in the middle of COVID, when AMC had all their doors closed, if Adam just goes, well, shucks, I guess Wanda's going to sell and go home to China, and I'm just going to have to sit here and deal with it. No leader in their right mind would do that. and he fought to keep AMC from going bankrupt, which I think is noble. And so, sure, he had to work on basically, he stretched out Wanda's sales. It took them some time, and I'm sure concessions were made. I'm absolutely sure he had to figure out ways to make it valuable to them to stick around and not just dump everything overnight when the Chinese government themselves is involved, right? So here's things you're hearing. Chinese government involvement, global liquidity crisis looming, COVID, shutdown. You're a CEO. What are you doing? So I'm a little bit, not a little bit, I'm very annoyed at some people who are out there giving you a tiny sliver of the story and saying, for instance, if I just came to you and I said, hey, did you know your CEO gave concessions to their largest shareholder and helped them make more money, to your expense? You would say, whoa, that sounds terrible, right? That's the designed response. They're looking for you to have that response. They're trying to feed you just the information they want you to have to get a response out of you that they want you to have. And I've told you that on this channel many times. I've had a whole video about how influencers work. I warned you a couple of weeks ago about things that I saw were coming, that really this matches everything I said that was coming. People don't want you focused on the movie results right now. They don't want you focused on the positive elements of the business and the fact that we're likely having, in my opinion, again, there's opinion, a profitable quarter. They want you focused on these weird, fuzzy allegations and just plant this idea in your head of something bad and this sort of boogeyman and this shadow out there. I'm not falling for it, and I don't want you to fall for it. I want you to understand what actually happened. I'll just roll through it real quick one more time. China says, bring the money home. Wanda says, okay. Adam says, hey, can we at least do this in a choreographed way? That's how I read what happened personally. And I think that's fine, because if the alternative was AMC going bankrupt and shareholders getting nothing, then yes, even if that came at a cost, he responded to the hand he was dealt. And I'm okay with that. So if you want to see a little more, I kind of did a little bit of a tweet storm on it. I think it's like 6 tweets or something. You can kind of see here, I don't know, screenshot this, go find this if you want. Or some of you probably already follow me on Twitter, and so you would have maybe even already seen that. Those are just those 2 same screenshots. And like I said, maybe I'll try to link up the document out there for you. It's got a lot more detail and just goes through the entire timeline of Wanda's investment in AMC. Okay, now let's actually talk about the good stuff. And I'm sorry, my beagle keeps barking. Hopefully she's not too loud for you. Life as a family man, I guess. So I want to talk about how movies are tracking this year. And what I've done, if you follow me on Twitter, you would have seen a version of this maybe a week ago where I looked daily. I'm just comparing literally day by day last year to this year. So I'll show you that. You can see how insanely steep this line is. And I'm calling this a tale of 2 runners, because the way you want to look at this is, if 2022 is the 0 line, and that means so every one of these little bars here is a day. We had 106 days so far, so you're looking at 106 bars here. And that line is going, just think of it like a stunk chart over 106 days. This 0 mark would mean you're exactly at the same place as last year. That's 2022. So if we were at 0, we would have made the exact same movie, the box office would have been the exact same as last year. But look at how steep that is. And so 2023, just day by day by day, is just advancing farther and farther and farther. You can kind of see basically John Wick, Dungeons and Dragons, and Mario is this like steep section here. They all show up and boom, 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 just start raking in the money for us. Here's the thing too. Actually, no, I won't jump ahead yet, but there's just, put it this way, I think this line goes way up and to the right. Forget to the right, it just goes up pretty much. And we'll talk about the movies coming. And that's what I had tweeted originally. I was kind of trolling the shorts and saying, man, I don't think the shorts understand up and to the right, because this is the industry, right? Remember, and here's why I'm bringing this up too. You can spend all kinds of time trying to figure out everything I just told you about China and global economic developments and, what did Adam do or not do, and did he, act honorably or not? All I know is I'm invested in the biggest movie distributor in the world at a time when this line here I'm showing you is the movie industry. Up and to the right. I think that's good. You decide for yourself if you want to invest in an industry with a line that's tracking like this. Me, it's a yes. So, a little bit of information around that. We're a little over 600 million. It's almost 601 million dollars ahead of last year. Again, that's 106 days, right? So if you kind of see at the bottom here, it's not quite 6 million bucks a day, but almost 6 million dollars a day better for 106 days than last year. That's like a whole small movie every day, better than last year. You can see we're 37% above last year. If you want to go back to some of my early forecasts that I had been sharing like last fall and last winter, I think I had said the box office would be up, I want to say by like 25% or something this year. And at one point I told you guys on a video, if someone was to go way back and fact check me, that I think I had heard some industry forecasts that maybe the year would be a plus 40%, but that I was trying to give you guys a conservative number of a plus 25. So just more proof that in my forecasts in the past, I've tended to try to be conservative for you so that I don't want to FUD you sort of with hopium. But in this case, I should have been more aggressive, more bullish. And let's talk more about that too. So first off, let me go back actually. For Q2, because most of this steep line here is Q2, and we're tracking way ahead. Like through the first 10 days, maybe I think even we were like all-time record for April. Like no April had ever been that big the first 10 days. So forget COVID, pre-COVID, post-COVID. We're talking ever. And I have seen some apes on Twitter kind of say, oh, this is going to be a record-setting quarter. And I do want to level set a little bit. First of all, shout out to some pretty cool apes. If you haven't heard of AMC Gorillas, there's some folks out there who, speaking of focusing on the right things, there are people out there on Twitter at least who are saying, you know what, we want to share positivity, we want to share about movies beyond just the apes and help people see, the awesome movies coming out there, the fact that AMC's got, in my opinion, the best popcorn there is, a lot of other things about AMC. Check that out sometime. AMC Gorillas is pretty cool work that those guys are doing. This is actually like a unique graphic somebody made. I thought, oh, this is so cool. You took Groot, you put the popcorn and everything. There's a lot of really cool ones. I've seen some great Mario graphics, some other stuff. Look for good things there. It's basically just kind of guerrilla marketing. So that's, they played with the word there. So kudos to you guys. If you're an AMC Gorilla and you're listening, you know who you are. I think you guys are doing really neat work. And not to mention, I just kind of love the graphics. So maybe I'll try to work in a few more of those in future videos. Some notes on the comps, though. So first off, if you were to compare, I showed you that daily chart, right? So if you just now zeroed that daily chart into Q2, in past years, so here we are, April 17th, past years, in some of those Q2s, you didn't even have the Easter weekend yet. So you got to say, okay, wait, it's not a very good comparison because in this quarter, we already had Easter and that boosted sales. In past quarters, there are some years where we hadn't had Easter yet. So that's coming in sort of the past quarters. Look at it that way. Also, golly, guys, sorry about my dog. I think the family's gone and she's downstairs barking at some dogs outside or something. I don't want to leave you. I want to just keep plowing through on this video. So I guess enjoy the music of a beagle. Okay, so the other thing about past years, in 2019, look at this. So these are some movies that had not hit as of, April 17th, and they're going to hit. This quarter's April through June. So in 2019, as of April 17th, you didn't have Endgame, the biggest movie of all time. You didn't have John Wick 3, interesting kind of comparison since we just had John Wick 4, which was the biggest John Wick of all time. You didn't have Aladdin yet. Disney live action is huge. The rest of this list of movies you can kind of see. So I'm just cautioning you that in my point of view, we're not going to set an all-time record for this quarter. And that is not FUD. I'm saying very clearly we're going to have the best post-COVID quarter we've ever had. By far, it's not even going to be close. We're talking about beating it by hundreds of millions, maybe even $500 million to be the best quarter yet. So it's a huge deal. We should be celebrating big time. I just don't want to mislead anybody and make you think we're going to hit this all-time record for the quarter. Now, I would love to be wrong and eat my words and choke on that, right? If we get to the end of the quarter and let's say, so you look at this list of what hasn't hit this quarter yet. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Guardians 3, Fast X, Little Mermaid, Spider-Verse, Transformers, Elemental. I haven't talked about Elemental much. Sometimes I kind of forget to bring that up here. We got a new Pixar movie coming. And then Indiana Jones just has one day of revenues, but I won't be surprised if that one day is let's say it's not going to be trivial. It'll be something. And then there's even other movies I didn't list. There's a whole lot of good stuff coming, and some that I frankly even plan on seeing. So, like, there's a rom-com my wife will probably want to go to. There's a fun comedy with Robert De Niro. That looks pretty funny. There's the George Foreman movie. There's, I could just keep going on and on. But there's a lot of really cool movies coming, and this quarter's going to be amazing. I'm just trying to put it in perspective. I don't believe it'll be like an all-time record quarter. But hey, if these movies hit like Mario hit, then I'm going to end up being wrong, and I'm going to be very happy that I'm wrong. Speaking of Mario, if you hadn't noticed, and you'd kind of have to be under a rock if you love movies and if you love your stock to not have noticed this, but I want to make sure everyone gets to hear. It's the second weekend for Mario. You can see here, the biggest second weekend for an animation ever. It beat Frozen 2. It's the biggest animation movie as far as a second weekend ever. I think it was 92 million. Everybody at first had reported 87 million as of yesterday, and turned out even more of you went. I went last week, so I added to the Wednesday numbers. But my family's already kind of interested in going again, so probably some people are going back. Crazy big weekend. But here's the thing that actually stood out to me. Forget animation. Look at that second bullet. This was the 7th biggest second weekend of any movie ever of all time. So now we're talking like top 10 movie. Forget just animation. We're talking top 10 movie. It beat Maverick's second weekend, guys. Now, kind of same caution as last time. I'm not expecting Mario to be bigger than Maverick. It would be amazing if it is. That would be really fun. But Maverick ended up having some really crazy legs. In the movie industry, you call it legs when it's not like dropping week to week and it's holding up. But let's see. I mean, if Mario keeps holding up, it's going to crush all forecasts, and it already is. So that's my last bullet here. I'm just kind of humbly showing you guys. I mean, first of all, I guess sort of maybe it's a humble brag, maybe, I guess. I had $405 million forecast. I was actually well above most of the industry forecasts I saw, almost all of them. I saw a lot of forecasts more like 200, 280 at the most. I think people really underestimated this. Now, I knew because I've got kids, and I knew how much they'd played Mario, how much they'd watched Mario YouTube, and then I knew it would be multi-generational because people like me grew up with Mario. So I knew it would be huge, and I went way bigger than the industry. So I guess that's the humble brag. Like, I was more right than the industry in terms of the forecast, but I was still way wrong. Now the industry itself is starting to say it looks like, and I'm talking just domestic box office here, not even global, that even my forecast was, maybe even $200 million below what it's going to land. Mario is just absolutely crushing it at the box office. Now remember that it's crushing it. Now look again at that list of everything else still coming the rest of Q2. This is going to be an amazing quarter. I thought I had I don't think I have it here. So actually, if I just kind of talk about the whole quarter, when we came into this quarter, I had about 2.5 billion forecast. As of now, based on how Mario has hit, based on some buzz around a couple other movies that are looking bigger than I had them, like the Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret. I didn't have that as big as what now the industry is saying. I had other movies that I got more accurate than the industry, and some the industry's going to win, We'll take some, lose some. Or, yeah, something like that. Win some, lose some. There you go. Anyway, I had forecast 2.5 billion coming in, and I told you guys on some videos that I believed that was enough for profits. But now, it looks to me more like 2.7 to 2.8 billion is the number. And, I mean, forget profits. Now we're talking like profits plus. I could be wrong. I always tell you guys that, that's a forecast. It's a forward-looking statement. I sure hope I'm not wrong, and there's not a bunch of expenses that I didn't know that are coming. But I've been forecasting AMC for... Well, I went back, actually, and kind of have, 10 quarters. So I'd like to think I've kind of got it dialed in. I think we're going to have some pretty deep profits. And right now I'm forecasting 2.7 to 2.8 billion for the domestic box office. All right, so let's talk about the court a little bit. First of all, I sent my letter in to the court, and I really encourage you to do the same. Keep it respectful, keep it professional. And I said, come on. It's just a play on words. So here's the thing. I've said on other videos, I'll say it again. In my opinion, it's like a cheap magician trying to do a little sleight of hand to distract from the real point. These guys keep saying, what Adam did with Ape is, that he used Ape to buy the vote. Well, throw away ape. Just look at the common share vote. And I've shown you the stats on other videos. You can go find it between Twitter and videos that I've put it out there. Um, the common shares, just the AMC, forget ape. Common shareholders voted at 279% more yeses than nos. Almost 3-1 yeses to nos on the common shareholder vote. So I highlight all that in my letter I sent to the court and basically say, listen, you can't be wiping away the shareholder class that this case purports to represent and wiping away our vote. That's not right. So, I lay out a professional, no, not professional, but let's say a logical case there. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't call that professional, but send your letter in. Maybe sometime I'll share what I wrote. Probably some of you will detective that out because I think these get filed and they're public access. You can probably figure out which one connects to me based on some of the language, I suppose. But what's next? You may have seen also this filing by this guy, Brian Tuttle. I don't really know who he is. He wanted to intervene. And now you've seen, just even before the video, I saw an ape on Twitter posted that the plaintiff, which would be Allegheny, has kind of answered about that intervention and all of that. So there's more coming. I didn't have time to do a deeper dive on all of that today. I'm honestly just not that concerned about it, other than I want us to have our voices heard. So that's why I sent my letter in. It was important to me to engage the process. I encourage you to do the same. I think I've talked about on some videos, I think I've put in some tweets where you can send that, what's the address, how you do that, all of that. Go find that. But I think for me, I would just say make yourself heard, but also, guys, honestly, I'm pretty chill about it. Like, I just think you got to let the process play out. Even I had shared with you all when it was denied. You can go see I had a whole video on the settlement that was denied. And now I think that settlement is honestly back on the table. But even then I said, listen, this is just the court making them go through the normal timelines of something called a status quo agreement. So we're just going to have to wait and let the process play out. That's where I was then. That's where I am now. So if I just, before I kind of finish out here, I just want to kind of go back. The whole point was there's people trying to FUD you, okay? But you need context. Always go back and think about the context of stuff. In the meantime, we're crushing it. Our industry is crushing it. Remind yourself, what is this stock that I even hold? And how do they make money? Well, the way that they make money is doing this kind of a chart, okay? In the meantime, we've got all these other movies coming, while Mario is crushing it. Focus on what matters. And so I had told you in multiple videos over the past couple weeks, I shared with you this concept from chemistry. So if you're new here, maybe I'll repeat it real quick. I'll keep this fast if you've already seen this. There's a concept in chemistry where if you put certain elements together, compounds or elements, you can figure out which elements are there, which are present, by the way that something reacts. You get certain, energy, heat, light, motion, various things you can kind of measure, pressure, and the reaction of something tells you what elements are present. And the way that I bring that back to AMC, you continue to see, here we are with some of the best movie results we could possibly have, and you've got accounts trying to get you focused on some interaction with China and a Chinese company, and did they own things, and when did they sell, and how did they sell. Some of this history dates back to 2012. If I was hedgy, I'd get you talking about that stuff and get you spun in circles. Keep it simple. All you got to do is look at what's happening with the movies. So the point is, you can sometimes tell which team someone's playing for by the way they're reacting to what's going on. When we have good news and they want to talk about distractions, when we have good news and they want to cause division, when we have good news and they want you feeling negative, that's FUD, right? What's the D in FUD? Doubt. That's what's being sown right now about our leader is doubt. Now, let's not be a cult. If we learn new things that are real, that matter, fine, let's pay attention to that. Let's be able to absorb new information. But I just want you to kind of think through, I've been telling you that we're going to have these amazing results and you're going to be pushed to have negative sentiment. They want to control your sentiment. So What can you do about that? Well, control what you can control. Go to movies. Be on A-list. Buy popcorn. Spread the news. I mean, look, I told you we've got apes creating graphics. Like, take whatever your skill set is. Are you an encourager? Well, go encourage some people. Do you just love the movies? Go see some movies. Invite some friends. Are you using AMC on demand? I think that's pretty underutilized in the ape community, and I think we can do better if I'm being honest. If you're gonna buy or rent at home, why not contribute to your own stock? Use AMC on demand. So there's things you can do, things you can focus on, things you can control that keep you in a move the ball forward, be positive mindset versus all of this. Oh my gosh, I got to worry about this new court filing and that court filing. What? Let the process play. That's my point of view. Don't get me wrong, I'm a DD ape. I'll go read and I'm going to do that, and I always encourage you guys to do your DD, but I'm just not going to spin and let someone else control my emotions. And I'm going to watch their reaction, and I'm going to be able to tell which team they play for by the way that they're behaving. That said, I said focus on what matters. I just highlighted Little Mermaid because that's the next. We got, well, actually, that's not the next. We got Guardians coming. We got this coming. There's some really, really big movies coming. There are some in the industry who've thought this will be the biggest movie of the year. If this beats Mario, I don't even know what we're going to do with ourselves this quarter. It's just going to be so much winning. I guess you can't really get sick of winning, but you know the saying, like, you're going to get tired of winning. So, what I think matters, we've got still kind of that, let's say, the second shipment of popcorn that needs to come to Walmart. When that happens, we're gobbling that all up and we're going to have energy all over the place. We haven't even hit microwave popcorn yet. We saw the credit card had like an 80,000 person waiting list. I have my AMC credit card. Think about if it's right for you. Go ahead and get one. That's up to you. Obviously, that's a financial decision too, so I leave that up to you, but I've got mine. Some great benefits from that if you love movies, for sure. All of these titles that haven't hit are coming still this quarter. So, I don't know. Other people can kind of focus on spin. I'm going to focus on winning. Let's go.